In this video, we'll do the last of the Leslie skirt tutorials. We're going to sew the back skirt, the side seams, and the facings. The first thing you're going to want to do is do the center back seam. That'll be those double notches. So sew with your seam allowance at 5/8 of an inch on the center back seam. When that's done, press it open, and then finish that seam however you want. I've done a serged edge on mine. After this, we're going to attach the waistband. The waistband should curve up. So attach the smallest part of the waistband to the skirt. Match center back with the fold of the center back on the waistband. And then match those double notches on the sides. Now you're going to have a little bit of a curve that you're going to need to ease in. This is how we get by without a dart on the skirt. So just ease it evenly across, being careful with your fabric to play with the weave so that it moves in easily and doesn't have any puckering. Do the same on the other side, and then you're going to sew with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, taking out your pins as you sew. When it's attached, it looks like this. Press it up. If you had any wrinkles, take it out and redo the seam. Now you're going to match this front skirt to the back skirt at the side seams. So match that seam of the waistband first so that it's perfectly spaced. Now match the tops and the sides. And then ease the skirt into each other, matching those notches at the side. The fabric will not be on the straight of grain, so you'll probably need to play with it a little bit to get it to lay nice and smoothly. Now you're going to sew it with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and finish those seams however you want. This is what mine looked like when it was done. Now we're going to attach the facings. See a previous video for how to attach boning if you want to do that. Again, pay attention to the smallest part of the waist goes towards the bottom, and you're going to pin those side seams. Now I'll match the other side. And sew that with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then press that seam open. And when the facings are together, they look like this. Now you're going to turn up 5/8 of an inch around the outside. I stay stitch this first so I know exactly where I need it to be. And then you're going to clip those curves there just as you did with the front skirt. That makes it lay nice and flat. Now match your side seams together from the skirt and the facing. Match your notches together. And now ease the waistband into the facing piece. When you get to the curve, you want to ease it very well so that it lays nice and flat. If you need to, you can lay this flat on your table to make sure that they're evenly distributed. And then you're going to do the long skirt piece. When you match the back waistband, match center back. I always make a small clip when I cut my piece so I know exactly where center back is. Match your notches and your side seams. Now ease them together. Mine is flat on the table and I'm smoothing it with my hands so that I can make sure it's nice and flat. When you're done pinning it, you're going to sew this with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way across, and when it's done it looks like this. Now I'm going to trim down that facing. Check first to make sure you don't have any puckers or tucks from your stitch line before you clip this down, and then after you're sure your seam is very nice, then clip it so that it's about 1/4 inch in width. This just prevents extra bulk when you do it, and it helps when you do your buttonholes to not have extra fabric at the beginning of the buttonhole. Now you're going to clip that curve, being careful not to clip the stitch line. You can use smaller scissors for this if you feel like it gives you more control. Then you're going to turn it right side out and you're going to press it nice and flat. After mine is pressed, it looks like this. Now I'm going to pin that edge. So you want to make sure that the facing overlaps the stitch line. If you need to wiggle out your pressing so that you have more of a lip there, you can do that. You just want to make sure that that seam is covered and all the raw edges are encased. Be careful easing in that curve. It's very normal to have a little bit extra to wiggle in there because of pressing and messing with the fabric there where it's on the bias. After it's all pinned, you're going to either sew this by hand or by machine. You can do it by hand, you won't see it, or you can do stitch in the ditch from the machine so that it's not visible either. I did mine by machine. This is what it looks like when it's finished. So after this, just do your buttons and buttonholes. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. You can find the pattern on Wearing History on Etsy, also wearinghistory.clothing. Thank you so much for watching. Happy sewing.